I'm Kirk Coleman, and you're watching The Cat Cave.
Whether you're in North or South Carolina or anywhere else in the world, enter the Cat Cave with Ryan Frick and Shannon Smith to listen to your favorite Carolina Panthers podcast as part of the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, where you can find shows like Embrace Debate and Inside the Vault, powered by the Fans First Sports Network, and also over on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, where you can also watch Believe in Panthers with Desmond Johnson and Carolina Panthers great Jonathan Stewart. Welcome back into the Cat Cave. As always, I am Ryan Frick, and to my proverbial right, left maybe on the screen, I don't know which way it is, Shannon Smith. Shannon, what's going on, bud?
Man, not too much. Let's go ahead and let's see what we can do with this game and break it on down.
Yeah, listen, I got on here last week and said, I'm not really sure what more we can talk about because I feel like it's the same story every single week, and nothing was different here as the Carolina Panthers go on the road and take a beating by the Washington Commanders 40-7. And if you're looking at the score and you didn't watch the game, you're thinking, well, Jaden Daniels probably balled out, except for the fact that Jaden Daniels got knocked out of the game in the first quarter, and the Carolina Panthers turned back the clock and made Marcus Mariota and Zach Ertz look like a couple of Pro Bowlers. Shannon, I don't know where to start off with this, man. Listen, I'll be honest. I'm gonna be completely open and upfront and vulnerable with you in the audience. I don't know how I'm gonna do the show today. How are you supposed to be happy and uplifting and motivational and I just haven't been able to see anything. This sort of allows me. I mean, I've seen fans on social media decide if we don't do this, I'm leaving the team. I'm gonna go burn all my stuff until the Carolina Panthers are better. Listen, if you want to be that bandwagon guy and not rock with your team while they're really bad, by all means, you do you. I mean, I'm rocking my college team on the podcast today for that very reason. It's hard for me to put on my Panthers jersey as Shannon shows his hat. After a shellacking like this, Shannon, what are your thoughts? Did you watch this entire game, or did you eventually just kind of tune out like I had to?
One of the things I'm very happy about, and I said this on my own podcast as well, to my solo podcast, is that I didn't get to watch the shows, all the sports live. I had to watch everything on the replay except for maybe a few sports. The WNBA I got to watch live because it came on late when I got off work. But this game right here, Hulu does the thing where it tapes all the games. But when I looked at the score, I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to do it. And I honestly can say I didn't make it past the first half. I went from shocked to just, I don't know. I mean, this is, when they say it can always be worse, I don't know. I mean, this is about as bad as it got. When you let the second string guy, go in there and throw up 2 touchdowns and look good. Marcus Mariota looked like Mariota when he got drafted. The year where he threw the 4 touchdowns in his very first game. So he looked about that good. And so I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me, man. I mean, we're putting a practice squad out there more or less on defense. And then the offense, once again, the only bright spot of the offense was Chuba Hubbard. And he didn't have near the yards what he usually gets. It's awful, man. This is awful. So awful.
Yeah, I mean, even there was a former guest on this show, Cody Lackney. He is on Embrace Debate. He is a C3 Panthers podcast producer. Also does the Cat Chronicles. I mean, he has been brutal on social media. Matter of fact, yesterday, we're recording this Wednesday, the 23rd. Yesterday, he tweeted out if the Carolina Panthers trade Bryce Young before the trade deadline for anything less than a first-round pick. I'm quitting this expletive team. First of all, do you think that there's a team that's going to be willing to give a first-round pick for Bryce Young?
No.
I mean, it's one of those things that, like you talk about, like it can't get any worse. Let's look at it here. Andy Dalton goes 16, and that's not 16 of 16. That's an incorrect stat. I will find out his exact completion percentage. But he only had 93 yards passing in this game, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. As I pull it up, because am I professional? 11 of 16. I'll fix that so you're not seeing incorrect stats go across over on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. 93 yards passing, no touchdowns. Like you said, Chuba Hubbard, only 52 yards, 3.1 yards a carry. He was the only person to find the end zone for the Carolina Panthers. And then, listen, we talked about this guy on last season's show leading up to the draft, tight end Jatavian Sanders. And he was the leading receiver in this game, 61 yards. But he got hurt with a groin injury in last week's game.
Right.
So you're thinking like the offense is going to be abysmal, right? Like we had one win when Andy Dalton came in, gave it a spark, and they've come back down to being as bad as they were before, obviously putting up 7 points. Now, Washington is a really good team, but Marcus Mariota shouldn't be throwing for over 200 yards, only threw 5 incomplete passes the whole day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think you're going to be able to say much bad stuff about Brian Robinson. He's had a stellar season.
Yeah.
As someone who rosters him on a couple of fantasy teams, he's a must start. He found the end zone in this game. Terry McLaurin, it seems like whoever they put at quarterback with him is finding Terry McLaurin in that passing game. Again, Jaden Daniels went out of this game after he busted out like a 40-something yard carry early in the first quarter, only completed 2 passes. There's 2 passes that he attempted for 6 yards, I believe was the number. But like, I don't know. I don't know what you can inject in this team. And you start looking for answers and you start looking for solutions. And I heard somebody call on a radio show yesterday or Monday, whenever it was. And they were like, it wasn't like a sell the team like I always do on the show, because David Tepper is the worst owner in sports.
Yes.
But it was like they need to trade Bryce Young. They need to fire Canales and start over. Like, listen, calm down. Okay. This is an NFL franchise. You cannot reboot an NFL franchise every single year. The answer is not always fire the coach.
No.
The answer is not always trade some stuff. I mean, sure, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. What can the Panthers do? You know, matter of fact, I think it was last week we talked about what can we do at the trade deadline. But I don't think there's much you can do. I don't know if there's a market for Miles Sanders. And unfortunately, for people who want to trade Bryce Young so early in his career, Andy Dalton was involved in a car accident early this week on Tuesday. So apparently has an injury to his throwing thumb, which is forcing Bryce Young back into the starting role this week as they go back on the road to take on the Denver Broncos. Shannon, what are your expectations for Bryce Young coming in? I mean, it's granted we're not seeing a bunch of sacks. I think we're seeing some development with the offensive line. I think Andy Dalton was sacked twice last week. Bryce Young did come in that game in the fourth quarter in the already blowout loss. What do you expect to see from Bryce Young getting another start after Andy Dalton comes in? And I mean, he wins his first game, but then he loses 4 straight. What are your expectations for Bryce Young?
Well, here's the thing. He has nowhere to go but up, considering the fact that Carolina is low can get. So this is something that Bryce can use to try to get some momentum for himself. And that's all I can think of, because, you know, it doesn't matter who you put in at quarterback. Doesn't matter. You know, this team is awful. And I hate saying that, because I'm one of these type of people. It's for my team, regardless of what it is. But this squad, there's not a bright spot on it. I don't, except for Chuba Hubbard. And the offensive line has actually blocked. You pointed that out. That's right. The offensive line has gotten better. What many have looked at as the spot that Carolina had it bad in last year is actually not doing so bad. So then you got to look at guys who are making plays. Who's going to be making plays in this passing game? I mean, you have some times where, when Jatavian Sanders is the lead receiver in this game and he's the tight end, he's not the deep threat, he's not the playmaker, he's a first-year player.
Yeah.
Yet he's the playmaker on the team. Yet Deontay Johnson, you paid this guy. He didn't make any plays at all. There's
one catch for 17 yards for Deontay
That's
Johnson.
it. And that's all. And the bad part about it is he's played some good games this year. And so you're like, really? We brought you here and you do this? Something's got to give.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, Carolina only completed 13 passes total in this game. Bryce Young went 2 for 2 in his mop-up time for -4 yards. But, I mean, you had a decent first drive going until Andy Dalton makes the mistake of throwing it behind Miles Sanders on a screen pass that Washington takes the other way. And it was sort of like that killed the entire game. Like they never recovered from it. And I mean, you look at the other receivers. You've got Jalen Coker had 1 catch. Ian Thomas had a couple of grabs. Xavier Legette had 2 catches for 3 yards. Like it just didn't seem like they were being that imaginative on offense.
No.
And I don't know if Bryce Young comes in after sitting on the bench for a few weeks. Hopefully he was seeing, like we saw this offense play in Carolina against the Falcons 2 weeks ago. And we saw some guys getting open that Andy Dalton was just missing.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopeful that Bryce Young was able to watch that film and say, oh, I know Legette's going to be open here. Oh, I know Deontay Johnson might be open here. The better news is, as this might be one of the shortest shows in Cat Cave history, is that there is help coming.
Yes.
A lot of guys, now not my guy Jadeveon Clowney, but a lot of guys are slated to return to practice this week. Not saying they're going to play this week and make an impact. But if you're watching the video stream over on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's networks, gosh almighty, words are hard. Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel.
There you go.
The words will come to me. Rookie running back Jonathan Brooks is supposed to return from the NFI list. Safety Sam Franklin, defensive tackle Jaden Crumity are set to return to practice this week. Also, DJ Wanham, who started the season on the PUP list, a big signing in the offseason from the Minnesota Vikings. Jordan Fuller, Adam Thielen, all set to return to practice this week. So when you get some of those guys back, especially on defense, where we just gave up 40 points to a veteran in Marcus Mariota, but a guy who's sort of been a journeyman since he got drafted to the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he signed with the Falcons, and I forgot who beat him out for that job, but he was like, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. And if Marcus Mariota's offense is able to drop 33 points on this Carolina Panthers defense, Jaden Crumity and DJ Wanham isn't going to be a bad thing to get back on this defense, especially when you've got guys that we've lost for the year, like Shaq Thompson and Derek Brown. So, I mean, any of these guys that are set to return to practice, any of them stand out as guys that you think would help spark this team? I mean, even you look at Jonathan Brooks, and everybody's been expecting him to sort of come in, but like, I don't think you really, I don't want to say you don't need him, but like, is he going to bring that much of a spark coming off an ACL injury than Chuba Hubbard's been able to do in the run game?
But he's got to give like some type of relief to Chuba as well too, because Chuba's been the offense, and you don't want to overexert him because and I hate to bring this up right here, like looking at Christian McCaffrey when he was with the Panthers, there are people saying this. I don't know how true this is, to be real about it, but CMC, with San Francisco, he's not played this year. They're saying that he was overworked in Carolina. He was overworked, but some of his best years were in Carolina. So I don't know how true that is, to be honest with you. I think that, every player has that time where it's just like, your body just gives out. It doesn't matter what you do. but it does make you think. But see, Chuba, I don't want the same thing to go on with him because, I mean, he's played very well. He's been absolutely great. The only part of the offense you can rely on, I don't want him to be overworked. So, Jonathan Brooks would be great to have as a back that could give him some type of relief to where he doesn't have to run the ball so many times, where he doesn't have to at least try to do something on offense when the passing game is falling on his face. Adam Thielen, another. That's good that he's actually back because, it just looks like there's nothing going on in the passing game. It should be Johnson, but he's not had anything. Jatavian Sanders has done something, but when he's your lead receiver, that's not good.
I mean, no knock on Jatavian Sanders as a rookie. He's not Travis Kelce.
No.
A couple weeks ago when we watched him play against Atlanta, had a really good game, looked impressive. But when you've got, like you said, you've got guys that this ownership is signed in Adam Thielen, who is hopefully coming back from injury sooner rather than later, and Deontay Johnson, who got a case of the dropsies last week. And you got a guy like Xavier Legette, a 6'3" burner that just can't get the ball thrown his way when he's taking those deep shots. So you talked about giving Chuba Hubbard a break. Miles Sanders did have 3 carries for 34 yards, but 26 of those yards came on one carry. Even Xavier, they tried to get Xavier Legette involved in the run game. He had an end around play where he had 6 yards on the ground, but I don't know. I mean, we talked about things that the Panthers can do to prepare for next year's offseason. I mean, you got other teams preparing, right? Like Ernest Jones, linebacker, former South Carolina linebacker, was traded to the Tennessee Titans in the offseason from the LA Rams, was just traded to the Seattle Seahawks for I believe they traded I think it was Adam Schefter or somebody on X was talking about how the Titans worked the system because they traded a 5th rounder for Ernest Jones for a 6th rounder and Jones. And then they traded him to the Seahawks for a 4th rounder and another linebacker. Regardless of what Tennessee was able to grab for him, Ernest Jones was a key player in that year that the Rams went to the Super Bowl on defense. And when you've got a roster like ours that needs some sort of, at the very least, depth in the linebacking core, we talked about the fact that you can talk about being next man up, all the time, every day of the week. But if you don't have that next man up, what are you supposed to do? And Ernest Jones would have been a nice guy to go and grab. You talk about other teams that are getting better. The Kansas City Chiefs just traded for DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Titans are having a fire sale. They're one of the worst teams in the league, and they're unloading. I don't think anybody would take Calvin Ridley off their hands.
No.
But the Titans are having the fire sale. They're you know what? We're not going to be really good this year. It's a first-year coaching staff. Let's go ahead and even getting DeAndre Hopkins for a 5th round conditional 4th round pick. They were at least able to go get something, knowing that they weren't going to be able to keep DeAndre Hopkins much longer. They knew that they probably weren't going to sign Ernest Jones to a long-term contract. But so the Titans are doing what the Panthers probably should have done last year, especially even the year prior, especially when they gave up a king's ransom to go and get Bryce Young, who's only starting this week because Andy Dalton was involved in a car accident.
Right.
I mean, I'm hopeful that Dan Morgan can make the right decisions going forward with the Carolina Panthers. But when you see a team like Tennessee that's kind of chalked it up, you know what, we're not going to be that good. Let's go ahead and find ways to add to this team in the offseason. Let's find ways to add some draft capital. You see teams, I mean, the Chiefs got better with getting DeAndre Hopkins when they don't have a surefire number 1 wide receiver. A couple weeks ago, you saw Devontae Adams get traded to the New York Jets. You saw there was another wide receiver that's escaping me now that got traded as well. The
Bills.
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper.
Yeah. So I don't understand how everybody else is so much better at this than the Carolina Panthers. I mean, this was a franchise that has been to 2 Super Bowls. They haven't won one yet. It's a 30-year-old franchise. It's one of the younger franchises in the NFL, alongside the reopened Cleveland Browns, who apparently enjoys their own players being hurt. I'll tell you right now is you can like or dislike Deshaun Watson. If Bryce Young got hurt and Carolina Panthers fans cheered
I would be.
Bryce Young's injury, I wouldn't come on. I would probably take a break from the show.
Yep, I would too.
At least the fans of the Carolina Panthers, I think they have a little more respect than that. But not. I didn't mean to get off the tangent there. But like being one of the youngest franchises, we've had some very good years.
Yes,
I mean the years with Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams, Thunder and Lightning. You know, you've had some stars on this team with Luke Kuechly and Julius Peppers and Kevin Green, Muhsin Muhammad. You know, the Greg Olson. The names go on, and I just don't understand how in 6 years this franchise has turned into what the Cleveland Browns have been since their inception back into the NFL. How this team turned into the Las Vegas Raiders when Al Davis was still here, turned into something that looks worse than the Dallas Cowboys. Say what you want about Jerry Jones as an owner, but as a GM, he's been awful.
Yes, very much.
So like David Tepper might be when I say that David Tepper is the worst owner in sports, I don't say it from a standpoint that he doesn't know how to make money, because he does.
Nice.
What makes him the worst? Yes, what makes him the worst owner in sports is the fact that all he cares about is making money. I mean, you have the worst season in franchise history that might be surpassed by this season.
Yes, very much.
And you increase ticket prices the next year.
Yep.
Like that tells me where your priorities are. And it's unfortunate that we have to come on the show every week and talk about how bad the Carolina Panthers are and what we can do to get better. And at this point, Shannon, I'm out of answers.
Trust me, I am too. If you're out of answers, I'm definitely out of answers. But you're absolutely correct. You know, going from 6 years removed from having a good squad, a squad that contended in the NFC and the NFL on top of that too. You've got star-studded players. You have great players. You've got players that will definitely be remembered for a long time. You know, we were fortunate enough to meet two of them. You know, this year we were fortunate enough to do that, and so you know it's rough seeing that. It's very rough because you know when you're looking around and you are seeing Tennessee, you know, pretty much unloading and realizing, hey guys, you know, we're not gonna do it this year. Let's charge it to the game. Let's go ahead and get ready for next year. But you know when you finance another squad like they're doing with the Chicago Bears, they're financing them. You know, the Browns are financing Houston. That's what they've done with this bad deal. You know, when that happens, it's hard for you to do anything because you pretty much have nothing else to give. You know, the Titans had something to give. The Panthers don't. You know, what they have is potential. This guy could potentially be something, so we want to offer you him for this. And teams are going to look and say, no. Because we don't know what to expect. I mean, we don't know what to get out of a Bryce Young, which I think would be messed up anyway if they did get rid of him. I mean, even though I've been critical of him, it would be not in their best interest to try to shop him because they're not going to get anything for him. I don't see them getting a first-round pick for Bryce Young. Absolutely not. I mean, Zach Wilson got traded for a seventh-round pick, and he was in the top 5 3 years ago. He got traded for a seventh this year because he did not pan out. I don't see anything above a 4th round pick for Bryce Young, and it would be foolish to do it because what are you going to get in? What are you going to get in return? You're going to get nothing. You're going to get a pick. You're not going to get a player. You're not going to get anybody. So it's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form to try to do something or try to make a move because there's nothing that you got that anybody wants.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all boils back to the fact that they had an opportunity to trade Brian Burns a couple years ago, and they basically got nothing, and it's been all downhill from there. And I don't know if I put that on ownership, but I mean I do because the ownership can go and talk to the GM. The GM can say, "Hey, we got some offers on this guy," and the ownership can say, "Let's go ahead and do it. Let's plan for the future because Brian Burns ain't gonna be here forever." No. And instead they let him walk and. We beat the dead horse here. Like DJ Moore, we let go of DJ Moore and a couple of first and a second for Bryce Young. And our second round pick for this year is still going to the Chicago Bears. And it would be a high second round pick at this point because I think they sit behind one team in the NFL draft order right now. And I think the team that they sit behind is the Tennessee Titans. And as we talked about, they're tanking right now. So I don't want to say let's hope that the Panthers keep losing to get that first round pick. But like at this point, like again, the Titans haven't had a quarterback since Ryan Tannehill.
Nope.
They've floundered around with Will Levis and why can't I say the other guy's Malik Willis? And I forgot who it was that was ahead of Malik Willis. But more than likely, Tennessee's going to be in the market for a quarterback in the offseason. Carolina is probably very likely to go, especially if they have a top 5 pick. You can't tell me they're going to go after a Quinn Ewers or a Cam Ward.
Yeah.
So this is going to be business as usual. We talked about this preseason that this isn't just a rebuilding season. It's going to take a while for the Carolina Panthers to be competitive, and it's going to make it hard to come and do this show. With me completely honest. Speaking of being hard to do the show, the 1-6 Carolina Panthers go back on the road this week, take on the 4-3 Denver Broncos. It's a 4:25 kickoff on CBS. The Denver Broncos, behind another rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, are a 10-point favorite. Listen, I'm going to go ahead. I always ask you first, like, are we going to cover this, spread, this, that, the other? I'm going to start us off this week. I don't think any of the guys that were designated to return from IR this week are going to play in this game that opens their 21-day window. So guys like DJ Wonnum and Adam Thielen and Jonathan Brooks and even Sam Franklin, I don't believe are going to play this week. And we're still waiting on the. I think they just signed a couple of defensive players off of. I think it was a defensive lineman off of the Detroit Lions practice squad and off of I think it was the Miami Dolphins practice squad. So the Lions are trying. I'm sorry, I said because it was on the Lions practice squad. The Panthers are trying here.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know. I'll be honest with you. I got a friend who does a parlay card every week. And when I saw that they were getting, I think it was even more on that parlay card. I think it was 11 points on the parlay card. I said, listen, 11 points is a lot in the NFL. Not when you're going against the Carolina Panthers. Give me the Broncos to win by more than 10. Shannon, do the Panthers have any sort of shot to cover the spread?
What hurts me about it is that this game could have been a winnable game had the Panthers actually had some type of something. This is not a far off game, but I know not at all, especially with what happened this past week and the week before. I don't see the Panthers winning, but I do see the Broncos winning by more than 10. I mean, yeah. I see that.
Unfortunate when I picked the Denver Broncos to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this season, and they have a winning record, and they're going to go 5-3 this coming weekend. Mm-hmm. Folks, that's all we got for the show. Sorry, it was probably a really downer for you, and I don't mean for it to be, but when you're 1-6, I'm not sure what I can do to make your day better.
Yep.
Maybe I can give you a shoulder massage. I don't like it. Maybe I can make you a sandwich or something. I don't know. I really don't know what I can do. I don't know why I thought of a shoulder massage, and I thought about the video, the something barbecue and foot massage.
Jones
barbecue with foot massage. Jones barbecue with foot massage. I don't know what the thinking about. On that note, let's go ahead and sign off here. If you want to find Shannon Smith over on social media, you can go to X and on Instagram at Podcast Smitty. You can find me on social media on X at Tapouts and TDs, Facebook.com/Tapouts and Touchdowns. And I am on Instagram at Ryan Frick Comedy. But if you want to follow the Cat Cave on social media, you can go to Facebook.com/The Cat Cave FFSN, on X and Instagram on the Cat Cave _ FFSN. So with that all being said, you may now exit the Cat Cave, but make sure to listen to more content on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel and more Carolina Panthers themed podcasts on the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. For Shannon Smith, I'm Ryan Frick, and we'll see you next time right back here inside the Cat Cave.
Go Panthers.